Mr. President, we don't know each other, but you and I are members of two clubs I think it's safe to say neither of us would wish membership in upon anyone. The club for men who've known the experience of losing their wife long before they could ever have imagined, and the club for people who've known the experience of losing a loved one to glioblastoma multiforme, the most aggressive brain cancer. In your case, it was two people, your wife Nelia and your son Beau. In my case, it was one person, my wife Terry. You probably know that the median survival rate for those diagnosed with GBM is 15 months with standard of care treatment, which includes surgery, chemo, and radiation, and that left untreated, GBM can double in size in 7 weeks, and survival rate is 3 months. But if you had known at the onset of Beau's diagnosis that medicinal cannabis could potentially succeed where standard of care treatments are statistically nearly guaranteed to fail, I suspect you would have done everything you could to ensure he had access to that, especially if it meant one day again embracing your healthy son, or even better, watching his children embrace their healthy father. During my wife's illness journey with GBM, we found measurable benefits with medicinal cannabis, including no tumor growth, no seizure activity, and a significant reduction in liver enzymes, which had become elevated to a dangerously high level as a result of the pharmaceutical she was prescribed. But unfortunately, we came to that information too late for her to be able to overcome the adverse effects of the secondary complications from standard of care treatment. In 1974, research funded in part by U.S. taxpayer dollars was conducted at Virginia Commonwealth University, and that research conclusively proved that THC, the psychoactive component of cannabis, causes cancer cells to commit cellular suicide, a natural biological process called apoptosis, while having no toxic effect on healthy cells. That research, titled Antineoplastic Activity of Cannabinoids and published in the September 1975 Journal of the National Cancer Institute, concluded that further research was warranted specifically because THC easily crosses the blood-brain barrier and has none of the toxic effect on healthy cells that standard therapies do. Had that research continued, it's quite possible that an effective chemobar may have been identified, which would have allowed Beau to be there to celebrate your inauguration, and my wife to be there to celebrate our daughter's college graduation next year. There are numerous people around the world who have successfully used medicinal cannabis to treat their brain cancers. Our bodies are able to use cannabis medicinally because of the endocannabinoid system. The human body manufactures 2 cannabinoids, one of which has biological activity very similar to THC. And cells throughout the human body have receptors which allow both internally derived and externally derived cannabinoids to bind to them, promoting cellular and systemic homeostasis. While there's no guarantee that this will work for everyone, just as there's no guarantee that FDA-approved pharmaceuticals will work for everyone, the fact that this works for anyone with little to none of the toxic effects of chemo and radiation compels us to make this available to every person diagnosed with GBM as soon after diagnosis as possible. And you can make this happen. Primarily because of THC, cannabis remains on Schedule I with the DEA, which, by its own definition, includes drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Yet at the same time, the FDA has approved 3 THC-analogous drugs to treat chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, confirming that THC has currently accepted medical use. And because it's prescribed and monitored by physicians, abuse is mitigated. Additionally, there are countless peer-reviewed, scientific journal-published studies confirming the anti-cancer bioactivity of cannabis. It's time to give all Americans the freedom to access medicinal cannabis by re- or descheduling it. The only thing keeping it on Schedule I is circular reasoning, a fallacy of logic. You can't do the necessary research to confirm all of its medicinal qualities because it's on Schedule I. And you can't remove it from Schedule I because all of the research needed to confirm its medicinal qualities hasn't been done. This needs to change, and you can make that change happen. Because tomorrow, the next Beau Biden gets his GBM diagnosis, and the next Terry Furr, my wife, and the next Senator John McCain, and 25 other Americans. And that's just tomorrow. Mr. President, if not you, who? And if not now, when?